Importantly, the topic is vaccination. And as we speak, we are seeing the mobilization of resources of an unprecedented amount all over the world as the world at large engages itself in what has been described as the largest vaccination program in living memory. That is significant because we have had other health issues to contend with. The battle, the fight in which we are engaged is essentially a matter of life and death, and it requires everyone to be fully engaged in support of life and livelihoods. And that is why today, all over the world, everyone, every country is making valiant efforts to secure vaccines. Today, we have come to acknowledge the receipt of some 21,600 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine, courtesy of the COVAX facility. And this quantity, which we have just received, brings our federation's doses so far to 41,600. The vaccine that we are using is a 2-dose regimen that is required. And so if we do the computation, it means that our supply so far can allow us to vaccinate 20,800 persons here in St. Kitts and Nevis. We have set ourselves the target of just over 33,000 persons to achieve herd immunity. This means that we have 62% of our target group covered by the combination of doses that we have had so far. This is really significant, and it means if we work hard, St. Kitts and Nevis can really become the first nation state to achieve herd immunity. We are, of course, thankful that we had engaged in the COVAX facility very early. In fact, we were among the first within the region to have signed up and paid monies to secure this support coming through the COVAX facility. At long last today, we welcome this quantity of the AstraZeneca vaccine. AstraZeneca vaccine remains the vaccine of choice within our Caribbean region. And we are happy that at long last, we have had a significant support over the last couple of days of the vaccine being provided through this facility. The COVAX, of course, is an abbreviation of the COVID-19 vaccines, global access. And this is a global initiative aimed at equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines. The initiative is led by entities such as Gavi, the World Health Organization, UNICEF, and the Coalition of Epidemic Preparedness Innovations. Indeed, I also want to recognize the contribution that PAHO, as the regional procurement agency, and CARFA have both been playing in providing technical and other support to our CARICOM region in this battle to secure these vaccines. It is because of the collaborative efforts, both at the global and hemispheric level between all of the foregoing entities and other agencies, that nations like St. Kitts and Nevis can receive this support that we need in the fight against COVID-19. We have established that essentially there are 4 tools required to defeat COVID-19: diagnostics, therapeutics, vaccines, and the strengthening of our health systems. We were, up to a couple weeks back, faced with the challenge that we had no vaccines. Today, we are closer to ensuring that our future can be safer and better as a result of this further supply. I want on this occasion to single out the stellar leadership of Dr. Tedros, Director General of the WHO, who has been doing excellent advocacy on behalf of small island states like those of us within the CARICOM. The nature of COVID-19 is well known, and we have heard that from some of the persons who would have spoken before me, indeed all of them. COVID-19 does not recognize countries or borders. It doesn't matter whether you are United States of America, you are China, you are Italy, you are Russia. It is in fact everywhere. No country is safe. No nation is secure until all countries are safe. So long as we have transboundary movement, we have the challenge of the COVID-19. And that is why the idea of solidarity raised by Ms. Smith is important, because it has to be all of us in it together. Just as locally in our fight against COVID-19, we developed the motto, the ethos of the all of society approach. In the same vein, at the broader global level, we need every country to be working in solidarity to ensure that our world can be a safer place for all of us. And that is why the efforts by COVAX are so crucial to ensure that no country is left behind. Countries with power are able to comply, to control supply chains. Countries with resources, countries which are rich, always determine market forces. Whether it is oil or it is sugar, they will determine, because they have the resources and the power structures to do so. In the context of vaccines, for example, there's no producer within the Caribbean region. The producers are all elsewhere, in India, in the United Kingdom, in the USA. And those countries, by nature of their own policies, can determine who gets. We have seen already where in Europe, some countries took the decision that they would restrict exports of vaccines until they were satisfied that the producers could deliver the quantities that they had committed to them. That is then one example of why we need international solidarity. We need a common approach and a common commitment to equitable access to the vaccine. Clearly then, if we were to leave it to the rich countries, it will become a matter of charity. It will be like the pastor christening his child first. So we will end up with a situation of the rich versus the poor. The world will not fully recover if we have the vaccine haves and the vaccine have-nots. And that is where, again, the solidarity, the coming together becomes important. and an entity like COVAX assumes greater relevance and importance to us in this part of the globe. In my capacity as Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, and in my role as CARICOM lead head for Human Resources, Health, and HIV, I want again to call on the wealthier nations to do more to assist developing countries. I want to reiterate a call I made earlier to the G7 countries, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the UK and the USA, as well as to the EU, to do more to make vaccines available to small, vulnerable nations and those in need. As we speak, not every jurisdiction has vaccine available to them. Indeed, we have over 193 plus jurisdictions recognized by the UN. And up to last count, only about 150 plus had any quantity of vaccine available. So we see already that we do not have equitable access, and that is something that we need to correct. Already we are aware that about 76% of all vaccines have been purchased by 9 of the wealthiest countries in the world. Those are challenges of equity, challenges of solidarity, challenges of where the world will go, whether we will go together or we will have each one fighting for itself. Today, St. Kitts and Nevis and several other member states of CARICOM have experienced the practical benefits of what can be achieved through the COVAX facility. We are slowly getting a genuine international effort to beat this international pandemic, but this needs to move more quickly. Globally, less than 5% of the world population has been vaccinated. With more vaccines now available to us, I want to again call upon all of our citizens and residents in St. Kitts and Nevis to play your part. This is your chance to step up and join the global fight against COVID-19. Our health professionals are encouraged by the numbers of people coming forward to get vaccinated. In the short period of time since we rolled out our program on the 22nd of February 2021, just some 7 weeks ago. As of yesterday, our figures show that 9,774 citizens and residents have now received their first dose. We have then inoculated about 30% of our target population of 33,236. This is really a very good start. This morning I had a conversation with our High Commissioner in Ottawa, Ms. Strauss, and we discussed the Canadian response. She told me, Prime Minister, Canada is in trouble. And I do not think that we are going to be able to persuade them to provide vaccines to the Caribbean or to any country, because Canada is way behind target. Canada has not yet covered about 10% of its population, and so they are significantly behind. It means then that some of the large, powerful countries will become more aggressive in getting their vaccines, even if it means approaching the COVAX facility, to which they have contributed, and to which we had hoped that they will await the vulnerable and the most needy the opportunity to get their vaccines through the COVAX facility, since they are purchasing power cloud, allow them other avenues. We are seeing that possibly they are going to go in the queue. And once they go in the COVAX queue, it will be more challenging an experience. I want to warn those who are waiting that they have to be careful that in waiting they may end up waiting in vain, because there is no guarantee now that enough vaccines will be available in the short intervals. Whatever we have to guard it as a precious jewel, secure it. And in the case of the vaccine, the sooner you move to get your jab, the better it will be for you. It is a good start for us here in St. Kitts and Nevis that we can say we are about almost a third of the way in our target group, but there's a lot more work that still has to be done, and we need more people on board. We need every employer, not just to say, but to insist that every employee must be vaccinated. This is where it's going to come. For the protection of your business, for the protection of the peace and the health of those who are vaccinated, employers, including the government, will have to give consideration to that. We have seen it already started in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Last night in Leadership Matters, I made it clear that my government has sought the advice of constitutional experts in relation to this particular matter. And there's, of course, a balance. But ultimately, we are confident that our Health Act, Public Health Act, does provide for the compulsory vaccination of persons, but certain SRO become necessary. And so we are getting further legal advice as to how we will move and how quickly. Do we wish to get there? If it is in the national interest, if it is that people are being too tardy, if it is that people are not conscious that by remaining unvaccinated for long, they are jeopardizing the health of other people in the workplace, they are jeopardizing the recovery of the country, then we certainly will have to look there. I was asked when we will do it and whether we are considering. My government has always said, and I have always said, that when it comes to matters that are critical to the survival of the state, the government must not take any option off the table. And whether it was in the battle against criminal activity, where I said we must use every resource to wipe it out of the country, or now we are faced with a global pandemic, we have to ensure that people do the right thing. And if we need legislation to ensure that people act responsibly, we will be prepared to bring the legislation, because the health and safety of our country must never be compromised. Never be compromised. None can gainsay that what we have here is an existential threat to our well-being, our way of life, the way we do things. It has been so for over a year now. And it is time for us to awaken to the reality that life has to go back to some sense of normalcy. The mask wearing and all those other things that we can't do, which we have loved so much, and which we have to find better ways of doing until we get ourselves vaccinated. We can't change course. Should we let a determined couple of people determine the future of all of us? I say no. And so I want to end on a note of encouragement. Please get yourself vaccinated, and the time to do it is now. Do it if not for you, for the loved ones at home. Do it if not for you, for your grandmother, your mother, your father, your children who themselves can't be vaccinated. You, by getting vaccinated, can do it for them. You who are working in the front line must do it for your co-workers too. It is not just about you. That is what COVID-19 reminded us since last year. It was not just about us, why we must wear the mask. It was also about the other passenger in the public transportation with us. It was also about the next customer in the bank line. And that we must do unto others as we wish they will do unto us. No one must ever be allowed to, in a very reckless way, allow others to be infected with diseases, especially when appropriate behavior makes it avoidable. So again, if we want to get the economy back to work, go and get vaccinated. If you want to get a job, or at least to be considered as a time when jobs are scarce, I will find it highly irresponsible for us to be recruiting people who are not vaccinated. At the same time, we are making a call for those on the job to get vaccinated. Well, you can't work with an employer if the employer says, I want people who are vaccinated on my job. You have the choice to either comply with a reasonable request or you leave the job. You have a choice, and nobody is forcing you. But the employer has a right to determine the qualities that he expects in an employee and a prospective one. So for all of us, for the continuing peace and development of this, our beloved Federation, I call on each of us to do our part. Do our part without being compelled to. Do our part because we understand the time of the day, and we need to redeem the times, and we need to do it urgently, or else our efforts will all be in vain. One of the reasons why the wealthiest are grabbing for the vaccine, it is that they have determined never again should their economy and society become so powerless in the face of a health pandemic. Never again will they go back there. You look to America and you saw weakness and sloppiness at the peak of the pandemic. It did immense damage to the psyche of the American as the most powerful nation in the world. Never again will it allow itself to go back there. We in St. Kitts and Nevis have a duty of care for ourselves and to others. Let us show it by getting vaccinated. I want to thank all the health people who have gone beyond the call of duty, exposing themselves to us in a manner of speaking, to ensure that up to today, we are alive to tell this story. They did it when there were no vaccine. Could we give a round of applause to our nurses and doctors and EMS people? And I feel especially glad that some of our nurses are going beyond the call of duty. And at the end of the vaccination period, there are some of them who are going in the communities to vaccinate those persons who can't make it to the health center. I know that Nurse Doris Bratcher at Molineux has been doing that, and up to last night after 8, she was out in the district. I know because I called them to see what is happening in the constituency. So I want to commend her and others. I know that on Saturday, Nurse Gabriel, Noreen Gabriel, stayed long after midday to ensure that those persons who needed to come were able to get their vaccine. Let's give her a round of applause. And I commend those of our retired nurses who understood the urgency of now, chose at this time to come out. I recall in the initial onslaught of the COVID, it was difficult to get retired nurses to come out. Nobody wanted to expose themselves to the COVID-19 challenge. I am heartened that with more information, they feel better prepared and more confident. I'm advised that just about a dozen, yes, nurses, 11, 12 minus 1, 11 of them have volunteered. Let's give them all a special hand of applause. May God bless us and let us as a people do the right thing, because it is always better that we work together, and it is always better that we act responsibly and do the right thing, not just because it's an expedient, because by our bringing, our discipline, our knowledge, we understand that it is better to do the right thing simply because it is the right thing to do. Thank you very much.